Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Degenerate College Football Week 5. Are we in Week 5? That's sad. That's sad. I mean, it's kind of fun. I like that we're getting familiar with these teams. We're getting to the meat and potatoes of the season. Not as many fucking cupcake, patty cake games in the first few weeks. Some big matchups, a beautiful slate. We've seen people talking about it all week on Twitter. Hope you don't have a wedding to attend. Hope you don't have a birthday to attend. It's a great day to watch football. Steak, myself, we're here to go through our best bets in the college football slate. We are presented by Pickett Sports. Download the Pickett app, sync your sports books, and track your wagers. And also, a feature that I'm starting to use a lot in Pickett. You're in Florida, so you only have Hard Rock. I'm in New York. I have like 7 or 8 sports book. It shows you the best odds. We'll bring up Pickett Pro up here a little bit later in the video to as we go through the games. But all right, Steak, I've got a low tone in my voice because I'm taking this slate very seriously. So I'm trying to come in with a professional demeanor here, but it's probably going to get thrown off a little bit as I talk to you about why I like Hawaii later. But we're going to talk Saturday. Okay, I know there's a game on Thursday tonight when we are recording this, Army ECU. There's 3 games on Friday. FSU Virginia, TCU Arizona State. 2 games while we're here. I think we should talk about briefly as we're going to publish this video on Friday a little bit earlier since we can't do our weekly stream, the board review. Hopefully you tune into those on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. We can't stream on Friday, so you'll be watching this video hopefully instead. What are your thoughts on Florida State -7, 7 o'clock Eastern time in Virginia? Total at 59.5 is what I'm seeing right now.
I've decided it's a look-ahead spot that I am going to buy into. The Florida State Seminoles play the Miami Hurricanes next week at Doak. Ticket prices are insane, and all that tells you is both of these fan bases are incredibly excited, as they should be. Florida State with that huge win over Alabama after a dreadful year. Miami's rolling, doesn't matter who they play, Gators, USF, Notre Dame. Miami looks really good. And then you got this weird trip to Virginia, man. And the thing that I don't know if a lot of people are hip to is that Chandler Morris and Virginia is a solid football team. And they're 3-1. They easily could have beat NC State 35-31, made some mistakes at the end of that one to blow it, but easily could have won that game and be 4-0 right now. And they're pretty good, man. So I'm comfortable as a guy who I think's been pro Virginia just about every time we do these. I'm comfortable taking Virginia +7 and thinking that this is going to be a close, tight game where Florida State doesn't show you everything they got because they got Miami coming into town next weekend.
Are you worried at all about look-ahead spots for teams like at FSU that weren't really highly thought of going into the season? I don't even know. What was their win total? 6.5?
7.5.
7.5? I don't think they were ranked in the top 25. Even after – no, you're not. You think definitely now they're already thinking ahead, big dogs, Miami on top, and overlooking opponents like Virginia?
Well, sorry, the definitely not was to them being ranked in the top 25.
Oh, got it. I'm sorry.
But to answer your question, not necessarily, only because I live in Florida and Florida State Miami is a huge rivalry.
Okay.
And I could see looking past Virginia for sure to get to Miami.
You are right. I respect Virginia. I like what they've done. They're 3-1 ATS. They really controlled most of that game against NC State in NC State. They lost that 35-31. They were 3-point underdogs. And FSU, after they won that game against Alabama as 14-point dogs, my first thought was, well, I can't wait to go fade them next week. And I looked who they played, and it was Kent State and fucking Eastern Texas A&M or something. And I'm like, well, no, I guess I'll wait. So this feels like maybe the spot to do it. I agree with you. And then quickly, TCU on the road against Arizona State. I'm a big TCU guy. I think you're a TCU guy for the most part. You don't necessarily have anything against them, but I'm on their win total. I love Josh Hoover. I saw he's down to 12-1 to win the Heisman. Unfortunately, I don't have a ticket. I don't know what he was before the season started. They're on the road against Arizona State. You're scaring me with this one because we got fucked, but you got fucked with the Baylor-Arizona State game. That would have been a big decision for you. And I feel like I didn't watch much of it, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Baylor had some chances.
Definitely. Baylor's horrible defensively, unfortunately. I have Arizona State win total under.
Me
I
too.
think you do too.
Yep.
Felt like a god when Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State beat him. I felt like a peasant when they beat Baylor, unfortunately, because I have Baylor to win the Big 12. I don't like the spot for TCU, man. Sorry, I just don't. Right after playing SMU, great performance. Josh Hoover's awesome. He's finally getting some Heisman love. 1,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's fucking balling, but I don't like the spot at all. And I almost think this game could be gritty. I mentioned it when we discussed on Tuesday or whatever day that was that I like the under. I still think I like the under, to be completely honest with you. I think you're going to see both sides, both TCU and Arizona State, really focus on stopping these two really dynamic quarterbacks. Tyson for Arizona State, one of the best receivers in the country. McAllister for TCU, one of the best receivers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks so easy to tap that over 54.5. I'm going to be honest with you. I think me and you wouldn't bat an eye if this over was 59.5.
No.
So I think it's a low number, and there's a reason for that. So my favorite play in the game is under 54.5.
So the one thing I did want to point out is Arizona State's offense hasn't necessarily been lighting it up.
No.
Arizona State's also played 3 straight games to the under. So I feel like whatever the odds makers are seeing in Arizona State definitely makes them think offense. Haven't really gotten it. In Baylor last week, ended up being a total or a final of 27-24, 51 points. It still stayed under 60, but there was not much offense from either team until the fourth quarter. Arizona State had, they had a field goal, touchdown, field goal. So 1 touchdown, 3 field goals until 5 minutes left of the game.
Yeah.
When they went on the road,
let that one get away, man.
They really did. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do. But also, when they went on the road to Mississippi State, Arizona State, same thing. A field goal in the first half. That's it. 1 touchdown in the third quarter. It wasn't until the fourth quarter where they scored 10 points. Now, I understand they're playing the game at home, but I am thinking that their offense is really not all that special. And I'm with you on leaning into the under here. I think this TCU defense might be a little bit better than anybody wants to give them credit for. SMU is not necessarily a world beater offensively, but they're certainly
they kind of are, man.
They can put up some points.
Yeah,
they can put up some points. TCU's held them to 19 first downs, 27 rushes, 94 yards, 290 passing yards. I mean, Kevin Jennings, 24-38, 290. He had 3 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions. But I mean, going into the fourth quarter, they held SMU to 17 points. I feel like that's pretty solid. And then I remember vividly that first drive against UNC. UNC had a nice scripted drive, went right down the field. What did they do after that? Nothing.
Yeah.
They shut UNC down. They got some dogs on that side of the ball. Josh Hoover's a good quarterback. Maybe we're getting, this is a spot for Arizona State to get it together at home. I hope not. I lean TCU +3, total 54.5. I'm kind of with you on the under.
Good.
All right, let's get into the Saturday. Again, one of the better slates that we've had all college football season. Cherish it. All right, we're going to break through or talk most of the games, but not run through every single game on the board and give you our best bets. I got 10 written down, and I'm hoping you talk me off of at least 1 or 2 of these games.
I'm sure.
First one I got on my board is Notre Dame, Arkansas. I believe Notre Dame was -5.5 at one point. That seems to be gone. So I am here looking at Pickett, and I'll share my screen for you guys that are over here watching. By the way, while you're on YouTube, make sure you like the stream. Hit that like button. It's good for the algorithm, helps us out, and subscribe to the page while you're here. Okay, here's Pickett. So Pickett shows you the betting splits. Looks like you've got a lot of people on the money line for Notre Dame, I'm sure, in parlays, not straight. And then a little more bets and money here on the spread. You can take these splits with a grain of salt. It's not dictating our decision. But the line is as low as 3.5 for the Irish now on ProfitX. Or the number I guess you can get for Arizona is 4.5 -108. A lot of money on Arizona here. Sharp money. I don't know that it's any sort of adjustment for an injury. I'm not familiar with anything that would be a surprise on either side. Arkansas was in a really bad spot last week. You talked about it. I didn't bet it. I think you did. We like Memphis. Memphis was 7.5 at home. Arkansas was in a terrible spot after a loss to Ole Miss. They go to Memphis before a big look-ahead spot in Notre Dame. We talk about sandwich spots all the time. That was a prime sandwich right there. I'm worried about this Notre Dame team as a Notre Dame fan. I like how their offense responded against Purdue. I still have faith in their offense being I guess one of the better offenses in the country if they're healthy. They have decent receivers. CJ Carr is a gunslinger, as we say, and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price are phenomenal running backs. The defense is a problem. Allowing 30 points to Purdue is not good. Letting Marcel Reed have 4 or 5 throws over 40 yards is not good, and losing to Texas A&M and letting Carson Beck tear you up. Chris Ash, not a good defensive coordinator. Do you think the Hogs are a live dog here, even after the sharp money's been hitting them?
Yes, I do. I will acknowledge that they've become a little trendy, so I just want to toss that out there to anyone listening, but I still like the Hogs. And I'm going to just talk about Notre Dame for a second. I know this goes into last year, but it still needs to be mentioned. Before this Purdue game, Notre Dame played Indiana, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, and Texas A&M in their last 6 games. And I told myself going into this Purdue game, because the defense does look bad, as bad as I can really remember seeing a Notre Dame defense look, at least recently. And I'm like, damn, they might have to make a statement on defense for me to believe this team can run the table and make the playoff. And they allowed 30 points to Purdue. And I understand they scored 56. I don't want to take away from that, but they allowed 30 points to Purdue. And I thought that's a pretty bad performance for a defense that really needed to get right. Enter fucking Talon Green, who is one of the most dynamic playmaking quarterbacks in all of college football. And last week, Arkansas was the hunted, and they're way better as the hunter. Arkansas is a way better team as the underdog in a situation like this than they were ever going to be as 7.5-point favorites against a really fucking solid Memphis team. Memphis is underrated. They're really good. We did talk about it last week, so I think we get the glaze a little bit this week.
Sure.
Also, they hung in there with Ole Miss, even when that backup Trinidad Chambliss came in and started lighting it up. They still hung in that game, but they're the guys that are better as the underdogs, and I do think it's trendy. But off back-to-back losses, I'm going to take Arkansas here.
As a Notre Dame fan, I have no issue with it. The total here is 64.5. I mean, we could see both teams get in the 40s. There is a legitimate, and look, I mean, this Arkansas defense is not good either. They let Ole Miss carve them up, but this backup for Ole Miss looks to be very legit. So I'm not discrediting that by any means. Memphis put up 32 on them, and I think Notre Dame's offense is going to find success, but this defense is really, really struggling schematically, and they do not have dogs, and they don't have the nasty guys in the trenches that they've had in the past. So you're absolutely right. 30 to Purdue is insane. So, I mean, Notre Dame scored 56 points and they barely covered the spread. Like that's absurd. Okay. I understand it. Not going to be with it. Let's keep moving quickly. Do you have anything on Minnesota at home -4.5 against Rutgers in a bit of a bounce back spot after I think their last game was losing at Cal, or North Texas at home -13 against South Alabama?
Well, North Texas is a wagon. I don't think they should be faded. I don't have a play in there. We tried fading
4-0, 3-1 ATS.
Yep. Pretty confident that we won't be fading North Texas again, so I'll move on from that one. Yeah, I'm going to fade the Ethan Kaliakmanis, a.k.a. Greek Rifle revenge game here. Coming from Minnesota, going to Rutgers. Honestly, he looks great, and I think that's kind of funny because he's actually the only reason I think this Rutgers team isn't fucking awful. And I never thought going into the season I would say this, but he's all they got right now. They're bad defensively. I don't love their running backs, wide receivers, offensive line. And I think it's crazy that he has over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. I never would have guessed it. And I don't think they're good. I do not think Rutgers is good. I think they're really bad defensively, and I do like a bounce back game for Minnesota at home. I like Minnesota large.
Okay. Minnesota large. Here are the splits, by the way, if anybody cares. Funny that there's only 988 bets, $36,000. Not much sharp action here on this line. You can get plus 5.5 on Rutgers. So there has been a little bit of a move there. Otherwise, fairly split. Okay. I like that read from you. And another one, I don't have anything in, but I'm a fucking Steve Angeli guy. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in Syracuse last week, as we had talked about, came through and just beat Clemson. They are now back at home hosting Duke. Duke off of a big win, a big response. They needed that against NC State. You called that. Great job. Duke is 5.5, total 61.5. I got nothing in this game. Do you?
I don't know how you figure it out. I'll tell you that Fran Brown made a fan of me last week. He just fucking talked the talk and then walked the walk, and they beat Clemson outright. And bittersweet for sure, losing Angeli. That fucking sucks. Looking at this kid, Ricky Collins, came in, went 3 for 8, threw a touchdown, nothing special, 20.4 QBR. Shout out to QBR. I don't know enough about him, man. I didn't see enough, and it would be tough for me to say because there's part of me that thinks like, wow, you got to back Syracuse, right? Just fucking really want to like make a statement with their backup quarterback. And we've been kind of picking our spots to fade Duke. But then again, do you really want to bet Syracuse after one of the biggest wins in school history?
Nope.
So, yeah, I'll
Nope.
lay off. I guess gun to my head, I'd say Syracuse, but I don't want to be sitting here watching Ricky Collins play horrible quarterback play and be like, why the fuck did I bet on this guy I know nothing about?
Yep. Yeah. Here are the splits again, pretty even. A little bit more bets and money on the under. I guess that would make a little bit of sense, especially if with the injury news to Steve Angeli. But yeah, I think Duke, Manny Diaz is a pretty decent head coach. Duke definitely has some talent. I know that score against Illinois was way worse than the game actually was. It was very close. And they banged with Tulane a little bit. I know they were down by 2 scores, made it a 1-score game late. I faded Duke on the season because of Mensa, but I will tell you, I'm a little concerned. They're going to win. They're going to win some games that they should win, and this is a game they should win. I got no interest in getting involved. All right, a couple of interesting ones here. We're still on the noon slate. USC goes to Illinois. USC is minus 6.5 on the road. Steak, I'm going to say 2 things to you, and then I want you to tell me how you feel about this game because you're an Illinois investor. I'm a USC investor. I got Maeva, their quarterback, to win the Heisman as well. I like this team. I like what I'm seeing so far. We just talked about, or you pointed it out, we don't really like buying teams off of their biggest wins and buying high, right? Well, Clemson or Syracuse just beating Clemson is one thing. How about Illinois after just getting their ass kicked against Indiana? I don't even know what the final score of that game was.
63-10.
63-10. So it feels like you're buying low on Illinois after that game. And now you get them as a 6.5-point home dog. And that's the other thing I'm going to say to you. If I told you before the season, because you do this, and I like that you do this when the way you pitch things to me, USC was a team with a 7.5 win total. Illinois was a team with an 8.5 win total. I mean, they're very hyped. You bought into it, which is fine. We buy into hype. It comes through. Sometimes it doesn't. I was okay with this because I like Altmaier and I like Brett Bielema. If I told you USC was going to be a 7-point favorite, 6.5-point favorite on the road to Illinois, you would have been like, what the fuck happened? Did everybody get injured for Illinois?
I would have literally said Luke Altmaier was out for the year for sure.
And more players. I don't even know if he's that big of an adjustment. But yeah, listen, I think the odds makers respect USC a lot. They are 4-0. They're 4-0 ATS. They're winning games fairly convincingly. They did have Michigan State with a late backdoor cover last week at home, but totals at 60.5. Tells you there's probably going to be some scoring, but it is USC. They did make a trip to West Lafayette and let Purdue hang in there and did not cover that spread. What are you thinking here?
I think USC looks tempting with a 60 total because you say to yourself, like, oh, that big of a total, that much scoring, them covering 6.5 isn't that hard. But I agree with what you said. I 100% agree. If you would have told me this was the spread at the beginning of the year, I would have said you needed to be checked in somewhere. But I personally, I'm going to go ahead and say it's an overreaction, and that's my honest take. I think this line is an overreaction to the fact that Illinois got their dicks kicked in to Indiana 63-10, and I'll tell you what, man. I have opinions, obviously, in every game I watch, but if it's an ass kicking, I usually say to myself, is that team really good, way better than we thought, or is that team really bad and way worse than we thought? And for me, I came away thinking Indiana is way better than we thought, more so than I thought Illinois is worse than we thought. So I don't think I'm going to tap it, but I do think there is absolutely value on Illinois plus 6.5.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. And I hate to say it again, because I want USC to win this game. I think they are on upset alert, and I would say there is a ton of value here on the home dog. You can get, according to Pickett, you could get, if you wanted, a full 7 minus 120 on Fanatics, or minus 6.5 on FanDuel for USC. Again, the total is 60.5. It's about as low as you're going to find. I think that's telling, but I also think it makes sense. I think this is one of those ones, kind of like Ole Miss, Arkansas, where it's like, yeah, you think points when you see these teams, and you're going to get points. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and you don't quite think points when you see Illinois.
That's a good point. You're right. Yeah. Okay, I got an interesting one. There's actually a couple games that I think you and I are going to be on here. I don't know if we're going to be aligned necessarily, but By the way, when Steak and I do these, we don't let each other know like what we're on. We've gone through the college board earlier in the week, live with the chat, but we put our bets together after we keep our ears and eyes to the streets, do some thinking. We finalize these Friday. We have to do a day early because of our schedules tomorrow, but this is one that kind of came to me late. Kansas State is -5.5 at home against UCF. Okay. Now, you and I have been pretty good about not believing in Kansas State. You out of the gate took Iowa State against Kansas State in Ireland. They came back. They played North Dakota. We remember they almost lost that game. Probably should have. They were 27.5-point favorites. Then they played Army. And I told myself, I'm taking fucking Army. They're 17-point dogs. Everybody thinks Kansas State's going to bounce back. They lose outright. And then what do, Steak? They go on the road to Arizona, and they were -1.5. I actually liked Kansas State at first, and credit to you. You were like, I'm going Arizona. And I followed suit. I tailed you. So that is now 3 times we played this Kansas State team, and we're 3-0. And all 3 times I've been betting against them. They had a bye week. They're 1-3. They're 0-4 ATS. I'm not telling you that I'm going to come out here and bet on them to start winning and covering 5.5-point spreads. But I do think they get this reset. There's 8 games left in the season. I'm going to trust in Chris Kleiman as a coach who has been awful to start to get his players to not throw away throw the towel in and give up on the season. And I think that a team like UCF is the perfect opponent to have at home to figure it out a little bit. But I do not like the spread. I like the under. I like the under 50.5. So UCF is not a team that necessarily lights up the scoreboard, but their first game this season, 17-10 against Jacksonville State. They were 20.5-point favorites. Then they played North Carolina A&T, 68-7. Then they played North Carolina. Huge game. We talked about it. Could you believe UCF was a 7-point favorite? Shame on us. We didn't play, or I didn't play it. I don't know if you did.
I didn't either.
Beat the piss out of them 34-9. So they're scoring points. They're scoring points in their last 2 games, even though the game did go under. I think Kansas State can control possessions in this game, and I don't think UCF is very good. I think they just got, honestly, pretty fortunate that UNC is so fucking terrible. Steak, I'm going to just repeat this very quickly. They barely beat Jacksonville State. North Carolina A&T is a joke, and UNC is awful. I don't think they're putting up more than 3 touchdowns on the road in Kansas State. I think this is going to be like a 24-13, 24-10 game. I love the under.
Cool. I mean, I'm pretty relieved because you gave a pretty long pitch there, and during most of it, I thought no, I don't care about the length. During most of it, I thought you were going to take Kansas State, and we can't do that. We've nailed Kansas State to a T. And let me remind you, this is a 5.5-point spread in week 5 between the team that was the co-favorite to win this conference versus the team that was projected to finish last in this conference. And so you want to talk about a spread you would not have believed if I told you at the beginning of the season. You would not have believed this. This means Kansas State is -2.5 on a neutral. So I think Vegas is reacting to how bad Kansas State is. So it's good to hear. We won't be betting on this aside in this game. Totally with you on the under. I like the read. I support it.
Cool. All right. Georgia Tech's going on the road to Wake Forest. Georgia Tech 4-0, 3-1 ATS. Wake is 2-1. They've been playing decent, but they haven't had too strong of opponents here. I don't believe. Yeah, they had Kennesaw, who you took Kennesaw and almost hit as an 18-point underdog money line. Western Carolina.
This Wake Forest team.
Nope. As you shouldn't. But then they played NC State. They were 7-point dogs. Standalone game. I believe that was a Thursday.
It was.
NC State was 7-point favorites. You took NC State. It was a miserable start. I think Wake went up 14-0. They returned the opening kickoff, and then they ended up blowing it. NC State comes back, and they cover the 7. I am so fucking tempted to take Wake Forest here. They were 14. I'm seeing 13.5 now. Line moved a little bit, but man, this feels like the spot to fade Georgia Tech. But I just did it last week. That was my letdown spot. And they didn't even really have a letdown. They scored 45 fucking points. I got kind of lucky. I had Temple plus 24.5. They lost 45-24. They barely covered. But I'm looking at this Georgia Tech schedule. It's the last thing I'll say. This is their 5th straight game before the bye week. I just got to think that these kids can't fucking wait to get this game over with. They're kind of going to be overlooking Wake Forest, get into the bye, and then they have to ramp up ACC play, Virginia Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, etc. So it's like this is where I feel like a little bit of a trappy spot could be. And I got lucky with Temple, but I also don't want to go back and get too greedy. What do you think?
I don't think I'm willing to talk you off necessarily because I tried to talk you off Syracuse against Clemson, and this is similar-ish, big spread. However, I will remind you, Robbie Ashford is horrible.
Yeah.
And Wake Forest is bad, and they only put up 10 points against Kennesaw. And the
Yep.
scoreboard looks respectable against NC State until you remember exactly what you said is true. They went down 14-0 real quick, and then NC State dominated that game. Wake Forest is bad.
Yep.
So just mentally prepare yourself if you decide to do that. You're betting against an absolute dog like Haynes King, and you're betting on a guy like Robbie Ashford, who is so bad.
Okay, enough said. And by the way, we're spending a lot of time on this noon slate. I think it's a pretty good noon slate. In the afternoon, there's not really that many games, so we'll probably just in terms of length for the video.
Rolling.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good, but just to give people an expectation here. Next game, I think we have a newsletter play. I think we have an official play in this one. I could be wrong, but I got Kansas and Cincinnati up next. The total that I see in this game is 57.5, but let me pull up Pickett again. Pickett says you can get 55.5 on Fanatics, or is that as high as 58? Big discrepancy there. Kansas is down to 4. You can still get 5.5 with Cincinnati on FanDuel. That's the line I saw. I think that's the opener. So 5.5 points are the Cincinnati Bearcats. Stake, we had Kansas in our newsletter last week. We liked them minus 13, beating the piss out of West Virginia, and they came through for us. I think you and I sneakily kind of like this Cincinnati team, and we're not fully bought in on Jalen Daniels or Kansas. You've watched more Kansas football than I have because I think you watched them against Fresno. I think you also watched them against Missouri. They are 3-1, but they're 2-2 ATS. That was a big response from them coming out of that bye week. So far at home, they've scored 31, 46, 41. They've looked really good. Cincinnati, after that opening game against Nebraska in a neutral, they lost 20-17. They did cover the 6-point spread. They played a gritty game, but Sorsby, their quarterback, was horrendous. I think he had like 40 or 50 passing yards, something like that. It was really, really ugly for him. Since then, they played Bowling Green at home, and they played Northwestern State at home. 34-20, 70-0. Are those impressive wins? No. But did they get 2 games to get right? And now they go back on the road. And I think Sorsby and I think this offense is going to put together a much better game. Yes. I like the Bearcats with the points. Do you agree?
Oh, 1,000,000%. It's my favorite bet of the week. I have watched a lot of Kansas Jayhawk football, which is funny. And they got that pretty new stadium. And that was basically the whole point around the Fresno game, which was on week 0. They dominated Fresno. Just a takeaway, like I said before, the Fresno game for me was more, I came away thinking Fresno was more bad than thinking Kansas was good. Then they hung in there with Missouri. It was a 1-possession game for most of the game. And Missouri's good, man. Missouri might have the best running back in the country. Bo Perbola's been good. So I wasn't unimpressed with them against Missouri either, but they've just been partying at home, man. Let's be honest. They just beat the piss out of West Virginia. It's just been a party. And I did tell myself, hey, man, when I get this opportunity to fade this team at home, I'm going to take it. I said that even before I realized that this game was happening this week and this would be the spread. I do like Brendan Sorsby, and I'll give Javon the credit because I think he pointed him out to us last year, and they had a really good start to the year, and then they fucking crumbled. And I think it was a big ask after that horrible ending to the season to ask this guy to go in Arrowhead, where it was 90% fucking Nebraska fans and fake Pat Mahomes to win that game. He hung in there. He wasn't great. They hung in there. They weren't great. Nebraska's not great either. It's not like they're a juggernaut by any means. But since then, he has 7 touchdowns and no interceptions, completing 70% of his passes. You brought it up. He's playing nobody, but still good get-right games for a quarterback like him. And I don't have that much respect for the Kansas defense, to be completely honest. So, yeah, I like Cincinnati, and I think Cincinnati wins this game by score.
Love it. Might be our I still, again, I don't disagree with you about Arkansas, but this would be my noon dog that barks.
I like this more than Arkansas.
Cool. Okay. That'll be an official play for us. If you are not familiar with our newsletter, we send it out every Friday morning with our best bets in the NFL and college. Subscribe on our website, The Degenerate Weekly. Make sure while you're watching, like the stream if you haven't already, and subscribe to our YouTube page. Okay. I got another bet, but this is one maybe you can talk me off of. Louisville at Pitt. Still in the noon slate, but we're almost out of it. Louisville is a team that I'm on this year, and I took a piece of or a page out of your book with Miller Moss. Louisville hasn't looked all that great, but they haven't really needed to look all that great. Something I liked about this Louisville team in general, I'm on the over wins, and I'm on them to win the ACC. They only have 4 road games, and they don't travel that far. ACC opponents, some now have to go to the West Coast and shit. They go to Pitt, which is their first road game. They go to Miami in a couple weeks. They go to Virginia Tech. They go to SMU. That's it. So this is how they started their season. Eastern Kentucky, 51-17. James Madison got a little dicey. I watched the first half of that game.
Yeah.
James Madison punched him in the fucking mouth. But they woke up and they won 28-14. They were 15-point favorites. They did not cover. Then they played Bowling Green, 26.5-point favorites, did not cover. They were 0-3 ATS. But they've had 3 games to get their shit together. Have they gotten it together? Maybe not. Also, which is unfortunate, I have heard that they're a little banged up. I think Isaac Brown, their stud running back, is apparently hurt. Don't know if he's going to play. And they also lost one of their starting linebackers. I still think I like them on the road in their first road test against a team like Pitt. Now, this is what I'm wondering, though. Pitt is coming off a bye week. They're coached by a guy named Pat Narduzzi. I don't know how you guys feel about Pat Narduzzi. I like him. I bet on them when they had Phil Jerkovich as their quarterback after they won 9 games. They're over 6.5 win total. And I think they only won 4 or 5. It was a terrible fucking bet. But I still like the guy as a head coach. They're coming off a loss, a really, really bad loss. They started the year 2-0 and covered. Then they were up and blew it at West Virginia. Huge rivalry game. Had a bye week. Now they come out. Here's my thought, Steak. Okay? Hear me out here. I don't think anybody really likes Louisville after what they've seen through 3 weeks. And don't you think Pittsburgh as a home dog looks a little appealing after a bye week and sort of in a bounce back spot? I think you're getting duped with the points. I don't think anybody wants this road favorite. And I think you're going to look up and Miller Moss and this offense is going to wake the fuck up because they're getting out of Louisville. They're not playing patty cake games. They're not feeling themselves. Jeff Brom is a great coach. I like Louisville large here.
Yeah. Isaac Brown's crazy. I think he's playing. He has 19 carries this year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he's got 248 yards and he's averaging 13.1 yards a carry. That's pretty fucking insane. Miller Moss has not passed the eye test. I will just say that because I watched the James Madison game. I mean, he really hasn't, and that concerns me. Eli Holstein, I'm torn on him. He sort of passed the eye test, but man, that was a bad loss. Specifically because it was a rivalry. It felt like you had the game wrapped up. You were 7.5-point favorites at home and you lost. It's a bad loss that I think could linger with you, but I do like that I usually hate early bye weeks, but in this situation, I kind of like that they had the bye week. I won't talk you off Louisville. I don't think I feel enough to talk you off Louisville.
Popeye's Hot Ones menu has something for the spice curious.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I was trying to pull up my Pittsburgh info and I got a commercial, but yeah, I won't talk you off, but
okay.
I don't love anything in this game. Maybe
the what?
The over
58.5.
Not that crazy.
I think Louisville's getting 35 on these motherfuckers. So
yeah. Okay. Maybe if I decide to join you, it'll be a Louisville team total over.
Okay, I like it. All right, a couple other games. We could probably breeze through these ones. I don't have anything, so if you do, stop me. Ohio, 9-point favorites at home against Bowling Green. Vandy, 22.5 at home against Utah State.
Nothing.
Okay. CMU, EMU, 5.5-point favorites. James Madison, 17.5 at home. And Louisiana Monroe, Arkansas State.
Nothing.
Okay. Now we're into 3:30. Here's where we got some games worth talking about. First one, Indiana on the road against Iowa. Total 48.5. A couple of things I'm thinking here. Could this be some sort of buy low spot on Iowa? And it sounds weird saying that because Iowa just beat Rutgers. But nobody really takes Rutgers all that seriously. And Iowa was favored. They were expected to beat Rutgers. But what Indiana did last week is probably one of the most impressive victories of the season so far. The total's 48.5. I, in a weird way, almost think that that's kind of low because Iowa offense just had their best outing, 34 points. Well, given the opponent. And Indiana just scored 60. But then I think to myself, when is the last time you've seen 48.5 in an Iowa game? I mean, they were getting down into the 30s with the total because their offense was so inept. Yep. I've said this. Gronowski did not look ready, but I think every game, every week, he's going to get better. This might be a tough spot for Indiana. Indiana is 7.5. They're giving you the hook with Iowa. I think Ferentz is a pretty good coach, but also you put me on to Kurt Cignetti, and I'm in love with this guy, so I got no business fading him. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a really good game to look at the picket splits.
All right, I'll pull them up.
I have a take, but I want to know the picket splits before I give you my take.
A lot of bets and money are on Indiana here. 68% of the bets, 73% of the money. It does look like it moved up to 8.5 on some books. You're not finding anything lower than a 7.5. So not a whole lot of respect for Iowa here. And a lot of money line bets for Indiana.
Never mind. Not going to play it. I went into this week thinking Iowa was going to look easy. I know that sounds crazy, but I just thought, wow, just feels like, doesn't this feel like a terrible place to have to go play when you're hot? When you're hot, you just scored 63 points. Mateer got hurt, so I'm pretty sure Mendoza might be like tied for the favorite in the Heisman odds.
Great point.
And you got to go to Iowa City to play this fucking Iowa team. It just sounds dreadful. And so I know it's not your granddaddy's Iowa because they're giving up points and they're actually scoring some points. 38 is impressive against Rutgers, but they also gave up 28 to Rutgers. I don't know, man. Yeah, I won't have a play in this game. I kind of agree with what you said about the total.
Okay. We'll go to the next one. This is a big game. Ohio State is on the road against Washington. So I'm going to pull up a tweet here that I retweeted. I thought this was interesting. Ohio State works for Barstool said, Ohio State opened 13.5 and now we're down to 7.5. I'm begging the public to get us one more point. Get this thing under a touchdown, please. Ohio State got a lot of shit because, of course, sports bettors love being know-it-alls. And they came in there and said, the public doesn't move lines. Public's not betting this early, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I mean, they're not wrong. I know he's incorrect, but not everybody knows everything about how sports betting works, okay? Yeah. Somebody loves something about Washington, Steak. The money is coming in on Washington, just like the money's coming in on Arkansas. We talked about this. We're going to start paying attention to how Steam is doing. Because right out of the gate with Texas, 3-point dogs to closing as a 1-point favorite, it did not do too well. But it's hit many other areas, especially in a couple totals that we monitor. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I am nervous about this game. I faded Washington last week. They scored 59 points against Washington State. It was a fucking terrible experience. Damon Williams, is that the quarterback's name for Washington?
Yes, it is.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Jedd Fisch.
Yep.
What's his name? Head coach, Washington.
Yep.
Good head coach. Good head coach at Arizona with Fafita. He had his guys flying around. He had those guys. I thought the Apple Cup was going to be a look ahead in front of Ohio State. I was a fucking idiot. He had his guys ready to go. I got no reason to believe he's not going to have his guys ready to go against Ohio State, the biggest game of the season. Totals 52. On the flip side, Iowa's playing their first road game. I'm sorry. Ohio State.
Yep.
Iowa. They have played Texas, who, what do we know now? Arch Manning's not very good. They only won 14-7. Grambling, 70-0. Give me a fucking break. Then Ohio. Wow, that was pretty good. 37-9. But they were really bad to start that game early. Then they got their shit together. I think Julian's saying, and this Ohio State offense is going to struggle on the road in their first road game. I really do. But this defense is unlike anything Washington has seen. That's a really damn good defense who's only allowed 16 points in 3 games. I like the first half under in this one.
Okay.
I like a slow start.
I can't give you much pushback on that, I don't think. Ohio State DG, a friend of the program, I think it's fair to call him our resident Ohio State fan. Not that we have fucking 7 million Ohio State fans. Let's be honest.
I know.
Like half the chat's Ohio State fans, but we'll move on from that. He said this was one of the games he was the most nervous about, this in Michigan. I honestly respected the take. They've won 22 straight home games, and I agree this is a defense unlike any Washington's ever seen. But Damon Williams can improvise enough that I think he finds success. I do like Washington in the points, I'll be honest with you. And he brought up a really good point, and I want to say it to you. He said, if you think Washington has a chance in this game, take Damon Williams to win the Heisman because he's like 50-1 right now. And if he beats Ohio State, I mean, that will plummet. And so I might just throw $25 on it. Damon Williams to win the Heisman and take his word for it because he's got something special, dude. The kid's got something special. There's definitely something special about him. And it's a weird place. Weird place for Ohio State to have to go play, right? beautiful Pacific Northwest on the water with the sailboats in the backdrop and fucking loud as shit. They don't get that much credit for how fucking loud it is. All these people are just Seahawks fans, which is one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. Like, I don't know, man. I don't love this for Ohio State at all.
I don't either, but there are still times where top opponents go into weird places to play and they do just fine. Do they cover the spreads? Not necessarily, but like Oregon went into Purdue and they won 35-0, and they were winning against Northwestern. That was with Dylan Gabriel last year. They went to Northwestern, they were up 34-0. I know they didn't cover miraculously. Thank you, Northwestern. We were on that play. I'm not gonna worry too much about Ohio State for the start of this game. Also, shout out to our guy Ohio State DG, no beef, but he also did tell us to take Devin Brown to win the Heisman. He went from 70-1 to 30-1, and last year, I think, and he never even played a snap. So
it was
2 years ago.
Yeah, because last year Will Howard was always a starter.
Right?
Yeah,
Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
So I actually like that Ohio State fans are nervous about this game. Good, because if they weren't, I would love Washington. I think Ohio State is going to pull away. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a tough game. I respect Damon Williams. I respect the coach for Washington. I think Ohio State's going to pull away. I want nothing to do with a spread. I just like the under because I think their defense is going to be really solid.
Okay.
All right. A couple more 3:30 games, Steak. I have nothing, so shout out if you do. Utah 12.5 against West Virginia. Northwestern 6.5 at home against UCLA.
That's crazy. That game's hilarious. Preston Stone versus Nico Iamaleava. I think if we spend any more time talking about it than we are right now, we should just wrap it up and quit the show.
Okay. Baylor 20.5 point favorites on the road against Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy just retired, or he got fired. One of the two. I forget.
Think he got fired?
I think he got fired. Okay. Northern Illinois 2.5 point home dogs against San Diego State. Anything there?
No.
Rice and Navy. Boston College -6.5 against Cal. Cal just had a weird game. They were 14-point favorites and got skunked. Bounce back there or leave it alone?
State, right?
Yep.
It's funny you just said that her name.
San Diego State. We just talked about them because now they're 2.5 point favorites on the road against Northern Illinois, but we're not going to touch that.
The Boston College, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but Boston College might have a QB, Dylan Lonergan. He's been fucking real solid this year, and I think he has like 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's obviously not getting any hype, whereas JKS, I can't say his last name, the kid for Cal, gotten a lot of hype. They're falling off a bit. They beat Minnesota, but then lost, got skunked, like you said, by San Diego State. I still think Cal might not be very good. I think this quarterback is good, and I think the way they started the year surprised everyone. But as you look back, people were freaking out because that kid balled against Oregon State. Oregon State is fucking awful, and they get their ass kicked by everybody. So that win looks less impressive. San Diego State is decent, but losing 34-0 is bad. Honestly, man, I kind of want to just take fucking Boston College. They're not very good. I want to be clear. They lost in double overtime to Michigan State, and they lost to Stanford. Awful losses. But -5.5 here, I feel like is telling, and I think it's more because Cal is bad.
Okay. All right.
Also, Cal going into what is it? What is this? Chestnut Hill? Come on. So that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't
I
sound
think
good
they might
at all.
get their ass kicked, man.
Okay. Here's a play I got. 3:30. I'm going back to Auburn. Auburn on the road against Texas A&M. So if you follow us on Twitter, I tweeted that I was going to be on Auburn large. Steak was on Oklahoma -6.5. I got Auburn +7.5. What a wacky ending to a game with Oklahoma, Auburn. It was 22-17. Then there was a safety for Auburn, 24-17. Steak and I both win our bets. You love to see that. You're an A&M guy, and that's all right. I respect that. I got no beef with A&M, truly. I like their coach. I like their talent. They got dudes on defense. Marcel Reed's a guy I'm not really into, though. He was 17-37 against Notre Dame. He had some big plays. This receiver, KJ Concepcion, he's unbelievable. Yep. He is unfucking believable. And they have another guy who's really good, too, who tore Notre Dame up. But
Craver?
Yeah, I think that's who it is. Yep, that is who it is. I like Auburn, man. You know what? I think they're a tough team. And I'm going to buy Jackson Arnold after the revenge game in a spot where I feel like nobody is. I'm going to take Auburn here because I think that Oklahoma with John Mateer is a real fucking problem. They dominated Michigan. John Mateer was the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman before he had thumb surgery and is out a couple weeks.
Yep.
But that defense is nasty. Texas A&M is nowhere near that kind of nasty on defense. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're pushovers, but Notre Dame carved them up. They did. They carved them up. They dropped 40 on them. I think Jackson Arnold and this Auburn offense, who's got that have some weapons, are going to find some success. And they've already been in tough environments. They're battle tested. They're road tested. Opened the year against Baylor, 38-24. Went on the road to Oklahoma. Now they go to College Station in the afternoon. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be rattled. I like the points here. Give me the 6.5 with Auburn. Totals 52. What do you think?
I think I'd like Auburn too. And I want to be clear, I'm not a Texas A&M guy.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't get around to Marcel Reed, so I didn't get
Okay.
there. I did think with all this talent, eventually this school is going to figure it out and win 10 games and probably make a college football playoff. That's all it makes sense. I don't like Marcel Reed in big games. I'm not that upset with what Jackson Arnold did last week because I have really high level of respect for this Oklahoma defense this year.
Me too.
So he was 21 of 32, 220 and a touchdown. He definitely wasn't amazing, and he was not good with his feet like he was against Baylor. And to be honest, the more time that passes, lighting up Baylor looks worse and worse because I know they beat SMU, but they got absolutely lit up by SMU, and then they lose to ASU. So the Baylor thing, the defense is really bad. It looks less impressive, but
Sure.
I think what I liked the most was that they finally got the ball to Cam Coleman a few times. He scored a touchdown. He had almost 100 yards. It had to happen. He was underwhelming. And honestly, man, I will take Auburn in the points. I'll probably join you on this. I like enough of what I've seen from Auburn to believe that they can compete in a game with Texas A&M for sure.
Yep. I thought Auburn showed some stones too. They went on a touchdown drive to take the lead late in that game against Oklahoma, 17-16. And Arnold made some big throws, including that touchdown pass. So yeah. Okay. Let's keep moving. We got another big game at 3:30 stake. I'm going to pass over Toledo, Akron, Buffalo, UConn, and Miami of Ohio and Lindenwood. Let's talk Ole Miss and LSU. The first thing you texted the group chat this week was Ole Miss is favored against LSU. Pretty fucking crazy. If you look at these teams' odds to win the national championship, LSU is certainly up there higher than Ole Miss. I don't have them in front of me, but not something we expected. Not something we expected.
With their backup quarterback.
Yes. Sorry for missing the context there. However, what we now know is, and people are already talking about it, their backup might be better than Austin Simmons. This guy's playing out of his fucking mind. Comes in against Arkansas, handles business. They win 41-35. Then they're an 11.5 point favorite against Tulane, 45-10. Fuck them up. Defense is also looking a little bit better. Well, the same could be said for LSU. Now, here's the problem with LSU. They haven't really looked that good lately. They played Louisiana Tech at home. They only won 23-7. They were 36-point favorites. Then we thought, okay, maybe a look ahead spot. They played Florida. They were favored by a touchdown. Not at close, but that's what they opened. They won by 10, but they were terrible on offense. They benefited, well, not benefited, but they were definitely thrilled to have 5 interceptions off of DJ Lagway, who is not very good. And they beat a bad Clemson team on the road, 17-10. So now we're starting to talk about, well, sure, Clemson has LSU has wins against Clemson in Clemson and Florida, but those guys stink. So maybe Ole Miss is going to be the best team in competition that they've seen with their backup quarterback. Kind of feels like LSU is getting doubted and disrespected. You and I are Ole Miss guys. We have their over their win total. We have Austin Simmons. I have Austin Simmons win the Heisman. That's not going to happen anymore. I want him to win this game, but I also bought into LSU to win the national championship because I like their defense after I saw them play Clemson. I think this is where the backup quarterback struggles. I think LSU defense plays a hell of a game, but I want to hear your thoughts. Talk about this game. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I went with you over 8.5 wins, Ole Miss. And when we did this, because I'm pretty sure we went through like every team, went through their schedule and picked out what we thought were wins or losses. I don't think either of us picked out LSU as a win here for Ole Miss. And I agree with you. LSU is being doubted. They 100% are. And I'm starting to have this weird feeling about Garrett Nussmeier because he's the first LSU quarterback that's gotten the benefit of being allowed to be a game manager because the defense is so good. LSU's defense was not good for Jaden Daniels. It had dogs when Joe Burrow was there, but it wasn't great. Matter of fact, LSU's been pretty bad defensively for quite a few years, and now they have a fucking amazing defense. So it's totally fine that Garrett Nussmeier only has 962 passing yards in 4 games and only has 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions because they're 4-0 and they beat Clemson and they beat Florida. And you could say whatever you want about those two teams, but LSU is 4-0. And I personally will pay a unit to see Trinidad Chambliss beat LSU with this defense. I'll pay a unit. And honestly, I won't be that sad because if Ole Miss starts the season 5-0 and beats LSU, we're cashing that win total. I don't give a fuck what you say. So win-win situation, kind of. But I'll be honest, I'm taking LSU here.
Okay. I think I'm going to join you.
Okay.
I think I'm going to join you. We don't often do this. Oh, we're invested, blah, 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 blah. I'm with you. I don't like this spot for Ole Miss.
I don't either.
Okay. There's another game I'm going to make it really, really, really short on, Steak. Air Force and Hawaii. Air Force is 6.5-point favorites at home against Hawaii. Hawaii's 3-2. Air Force is 1-2. So you might think, wow, this is kind of weird. Seeing this team favored given their record, but I'm not entirely sure anybody is going to want to touch Hawaii here. So you could talk me off this game because Air Force is coming off of 2 straight losses, but they've scored 30 points. Their offense is rolling. Their defense is atrocious. And Hawaii just played Fresno State and lost at home 23-21, a team that's not very good. Their only road game so far, Steak, they went to Arizona and they lost 40-6. But let me tell you this. I do this often, and I love when we do this. I'm getting deja vu. I'm getting gambler's deja vu. You know what this Air Force minus 6.5 reminds me of? Do you remember last week how all the smart people and sharp bettors wanted to fade BYU going into East Carolina, and BYU fucked them up? This is giving me that vibe, except the opposite. People don't like the dog. They like the favorite here. Nobody wants to touch Hawaii with a 10-foot pole.
Nobody wants to touch Hawaii away from Hawaii, let's be honest.
People this is far, too. I think it's in Colorado.
In Colorado, high elevation.
I kind of like Hawaii. Just saying.
It's an interesting pitch. I got nothing to add, but that's an interesting pitch.
I just keep an eye on, those teams that nobody's going to touch. Nobody's going to be on Hawaii here. All right. Couple of quick ones. Tulane 14.5 at Tulsa. New Mexico minus 15 New Mexico State. Anything?
The Tulane game's interesting after getting their ass kicked by Ole Miss and Tulsa winning in Stillwater for the first time in 70 years or whatever it was. But no, I would probably go Tulane if I bet anything, but I won't be playing it.
I'm kind of with you on that after a little bit of I was going to say a little bit of a bounce back because they got their ass kicked to Ole Miss, but they were also 11.5-point dogs. Like they were expected to lose that game. Tennessee is 7.5-point favorites on the road against Mississippi State. You've been a big Mississippi State guy because you watched the SEC show and you love this coach, Jeff Lebby. They're 4-0. They're 4-0 ATS. They did beat Arizona State outright as a touchdown underdog. Well, they were 6.5 there. They're 7.5 here, so you're getting the hook. Tennessee's coming off of that heartbreaking loss against Georgia. I think Mississippi.
It was 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
That's true. You're right. They had a bye. I think Tennessee is very good. They've only played a neutral game.
UAB, even though playing Trent Dilfer does feel like a bye.
You're very right. I'm so sorry. Thank you for keeping me honest. And I did take UAB, so I'm a fucking idiot. They somehow covered the 39-point spread. Tennessee has not played a real road game yet. They've only played a neutral site game against Syracuse. This is their first road test. And I got no interest in fading them. None. What about you?
Well, you mentioned that I'm a Jeff Lebby fan, but also mentioned that I'm a Joey Aguilar fan. So I like both these guys. I think Tennessee looks like the easier button to press with how good they looked against Georgia and how the fact that they were a kick away from winning the game. But I just like Jeff Lebby, man. I'm rooting for the guy. I got to be honest. I watched that show and I thought to myself, like, damn, no, it's so hard to become Kirby Smart. But I think as it stands right now, being Kirby Smart right now seems easy. But being Jeff Lebby seemed so hard during that year where they lost every fucking game and got their ass kicked by Toledo. And I'm just rooting for the fucking guy. I think it would be so cool if they beat Tennessee. I don't really think it's going to happen, but I would not be pressing Tennessee minus 7.5 here. I think this Mississippi State team is different. I think Blake Shapen's a perfect quarterback, and I think the home field there's a real good time. Cowbells will be fucking ringing. And you said it. I don't think that's going to be so fun for Tennessee. I don't think they're just going to go in there and drop 40 on their head that easy. I really don't.
Fair enough. I like the Vols here. Like them big.
Okay. You're ready to learn Jeff Lebby.
Fair. I appreciate what he did for Arizona State under. I just want to make that clear. By the way, I have a bet. I forgot. I wrote it down. I should have looked at my my notebook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've given you 6 of my 10 bets. Here's number 7. I forgot I like the over in Tulane Tulsa. It's 51.5. Tulsa is coming off of a 19-12 final, and Tulane just scored 10 points. 3 of the 4 games Tulsa has played this year has gone under. They have scored 19, 23, 14 in their last 3. I think
sharp read.
I think that total being 51 and not 49 is very telling. It also makes me like the favorite. So I love Tulane here as a 14.5-point favorite. All right. A couple of games that we don't really care about. So I'm going to go right to 7 o'clock and talk about Iowa State, Arizona.
Yeah,
fun game, dude. We are Rocco Becht guys through and through. This is an undefeated matchup. You've got Iowa State 4-0, 2-1-1 ATS, and you've got Arizona on the flip side 3-0, 3-0 ATS. Iowa State, I want to say they opened 4.5 and they're up to 6, but I could be wrong. So please do not quote me on that. They are as high as 6.5 some places. If you look at the splits here, we'll pull up the Pickett splits. Again, shout out Pickett, download Pickett, use promo code DGen when you do. The bets are a little bit lower on the spread for Iowa State, but the sharp money is hammering them. Also, I'm kind of with this consensus right here. If I have to give you something, 60% of bets and money are on this under. I like this under. It's 49. And I think the Iowa State defense stymies Fafita in the Arizona offense, but not a real strong read of mine. It is a play I like, though.
I'm looking, and I think it's really interesting that by the time this game kicks off, Arizona won't have played a football game for 16 days, and Iowa State won't have played a football game for 15 days. So then I'm saying, okay, 2 teams coming off a bye, extra long bye for Arizona because that game was on Friday night against Kansas State. And I'm thinking, who do I like this bye more for? And it's Iowa State because they went to Ireland, and then they played Iowa, and Arizona played Hawaii at home, Weber State at home, and then beat Kansas State at home. They have not left home, and they did not need this bye week. Matter of fact, I would argue this bye week came at an awful time for Arizona because that was a great win. And we all kind of came away thinking like, damn, dude, fucking Fafita. We had high expectations for him last year with Tet McMillan. They didn't live up to it, but now they have no expectations. Like, can we get a little excited about this guy? He can move the football. He's fun to watch, but I hate this bye week for them. And honestly, just looking at this, I almost want to just go back to our guy, Rocco Becht, and take the Clones -5.5. I like your read with the under, too, because I think Arizona will have a hard time scoring on Iowa State here.
I like it. I like where your head's at. All right. Night slate, we're in NC State's 10-point favorites against Virginia Tech, Western Kentucky, 5-point favorites against Missouri State. Anything?
I mean, I don't think we should be betting Virginia Tech games.
Nope.
NC State is a really talented offensive team. They're soft, in my opinion, but man, they could probably score with the best of them. And I don't think fading them against Virginia Tech is all that smart.
Letdown alert. Memphis on the road against FAU. Sorry, weird place to go play after you just beat Arkansas and before a game up next. Oh, no, I'm sorry. A game against Tulsa at home next week.
Yeah, Caden Veltkamp, the Western Kentucky transfer at FAU, has been bad, really bad.
Yeah, he's not very good. Just pointing that out there. Okay, big one tonight or Saturday night. Penn State. What's that?
I wish it was tonight.
Yeah. Penn State, Oregon. Total 52.5. I hate that I feel this way, but I do, and I just got to tell you, fucking love the Nittany Lions here. I love them. I don't like James Franklin. I don't even like Drew Aller, but I love the running backs. And that's where I think Penn State wins this game. I don't think Dante Moore Jr., who's the quarterback for Oregon, has played poorly at all. He's been great, but he hasn't played the best of competition. Oklahoma State, fucking Northwestern, like, give me a break. But I watched Northwestern that game, every second of it. I streamed it, and I willed them to a cover. And one thing I noticed was Northwestern's offense had success. Preston Stone was a atrocious quarterback, made 0 plays, and actually shot his entire team in the foot with the turnovers. They were running the ball at ease, with ease. Not at ease. I'm not in the military. With ease. They were getting 4 or 5 yards a carry. I think Penn State is going to get 6. I think they're going to get some push. I think they're going to fucking bully the Oregon Ducks, and they're going to control time of possession, and they're going to keep the offense off the field. I think Penn State wins this game 28-17. So I like the Lions, and I think them giving you the hook with Oregon is bait.
Yep, I think it's bait too. Everybody listening, they're probably saying to themselves, like, oh, DJ and Steak are going to bet James Franklin in a big game. What could possibly go wrong? And to everyone saying that, you're 100% correct. This is probably not an intelligent thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it as well.
Yeah.
And I brought up that I'm not really impressed with Oregon's competition, which was funny because the chat immediately humbled me because fucking Penn State's played Villanova, FIU, and whoever the fuck. But I just want to mention Drew Aller and both of these running backs played in the college football semifinal last year, whereas on Oregon's side, they were in the college football playoff as well, but it was Dylan Gabriel, and it wasn't what's the drawing a complete blank, Jacorian Moore, is that the freshman wide receiver's name?
For Oregon? No, I'm not
name?
sure.
Anyways, they have an amazing freshman wide receiver. They have a new quarterback, so it's like that means a little less to me. I like Penn State in this game. I like the guys on Penn State in this game at home way more than I like the guys on Oregon.
Great. Love it. Okay. Stanford, San Jose State, Missouri, UMass, and Boise State, App State. Got nothing. You?
Nothing.
Okay. Georgia, Bama, another big game of the night. God, this is a fucking great slate. Love college football. Fired up week 5. Georgia, 3-point favorites at home. Total of 52 against Alabama. Look, this is how I gamble. I know it's really stupid, but in the same time slot, big games, big opponents, or big names, rather, big brands, similar spreads. I think one favorite hits and one dog hits. The favorite I like, I know 3 and 3.5 are very different. I like Penn State to roll. The dog I think barks is Alabama. I'm a little nervous, though, because Georgia feels like a team that's slept on this entire year, and they just won a very gritty game that they maybe had no business winning. Tennessee missed that chip shot, but they came back. They showed a lot of fight, but that defense looked sketchy. I love the response from Alabama. I love the way the offense looks. I fucking faded them like an idiot with Wisconsin. That was an atrocious wager. And I thought Ty Simpson looked so good. Now they go back on the road. They're not a double-digit favorite. This time they're a dog. And I don't really think they have as much hyper expectations now on them after they've already gotten that loss to FSU. Still think people might be overall sleeping on the Georgia Bulldogs. I do, because their defense allowed 40 points to Tennessee. I like the Tide.
Yeah. I like the Tide a lot less than I like Penn State. I'll say that much.
That's fair. I agree.
And I think it has to be mentioned, like, we're guys who pride ourselves on at least knowing what we're talking about, yet we're taking Kalen DeBoer to go into fucking Sanford and beat Kirby Smart, who I think's won a bajillion games in a row at home, and we're taking James Franklin in a big game against Dan Lanning. So if we end up being in piss, just know that we did it to ourselves. I got to be honest, and I think this is actually not that crazy of a take. Even with the loss to FSU, I think Alabama is every bit as good as Georgia. I think Alabama has everything that Georgia has. I don't think Gunnar Stockton is that much better than Ty Simpson. I don't think there's any part of Georgia necessarily that's way better than anything Alabama has. As a matter of fact, I might even go as far as to say that Alabama's better. So that's my football brain take. I am nervous going into Georgia and beating Kirby Smart feels like final boss level on a video game, just fucking impossible shit. So yeah, I'm much more comfortable with the Penn State wager than the Bama wager, but I really do want Bama to pull this out.
Okay.
Like, for example, I wouldn't be
That's
comfortable
well
adding Bama to the newsletter, I don't think.
Nope. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It is on my sheet. And then I have one more. Oh no. That's all 10 plays for me. What are we at? An hour and 3 minutes. That's pretty damn good. There are a couple more games for the night. I'm going to run through them very quickly for you. Washington State on the road against Colorado State, 5.5-point dogs. They are terrible. I'm not touching them. And then South Carolina is at home facing Kentucky, 5.5-point favorites for South Carolina. We've been on and off Kentucky. I don't really think they're very good, but I don't think South Carolina is very good either. Totals 46 seems pretty low. I don't have any opinions. Do you?
This, in my opinion, is the spot where there's value on South Carolina. South Carolina isn't very good, but they're much better than Kentucky, but they've been getting their ass kicked. And I think if there's any value in this game, it's on South Carolina by a lot.
Okay. Marshall, Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Tech, UTEP, and BYU Colorado. BYU 7-point favorites on the road.
I got to think about BYU. BYU, all the cover 3 guys were saying, what a weird place to have to go play ECU.
Mhm.
And a lot of people liked ECU. Just felt weird for Brigham Young to have to go to ECU,
Mhm.
and they took care of business. Now here they are playing Colorado, who no one likes. Same spread, and this is not a weird place to go play for a team from Utah. It's Colorado. It's one fucking state over. It's not weird at all. No one thinks it's weird. And this might be the spot where I fade BYU, to be completely honest. I might go Colorado here.
Love it. All right, Steak. We're off tomorrow. We're off Friday. Hope you enjoyed this video. Steak's heading out to Montana for a vacation. Appreciate your time. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Best of luck on your wagers this weekend. And we will see you next week, or I'll see you Sunday morning for Prop Talk. Thanks for hanging out. Good luck, Steak. I'll check you later.
See ya.